Okay, we got our man J.O. Kush in the house again. Last time we talked about bro science, but this time you were saying you were getting your feet wet into the breeding process of marijuana cannabis. So this is an interesting thing because you were kind of talking to me offset, and it's a fascinating thing. It's basically trying to find genetics to make bomb ass skunk.
Yeah.
So let's get into why you wanted to get into the breeding process of making weed, like breeding weed, and then we'll get into kind of like the pure blank slate cannabis process.
Yeah.
We'll get in that later. But what made you want to get into breeding cannabis? And elaborate on that so people can understand it.
Right.
Please.
I think for anyone that watched the previous episode, one of them anyway, I had geckos.
Yes.
For a while.
You had a fucking ton of geckos.
A wild amount of geckos. So it was really cool. I mean, it was the same kind of thing to put, parent A and parent B together, and then you were looking for specific traits, and you'd see those traits reflected in the offspring. And so, I mean, putting two things together and having, that multiple offspring pop out as, like, just wild and, I mean, yeah, you could breed for different traits. Like, it just always seemed very cool. This is just a very neat process.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just kind of inevitable for the cannabis side of things, where it was like, we're kind of in the same kind of realm of possibilities here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Take A and B and then make it into my own, right? And then with cannabis, it was even crazier because you have hundreds and hundreds of terpenes, not even hundreds, limitless expression of flavor, aroma, color, size, growth style, and so, I mean, that's a project that's on the horizon right now, and I'm pretty excited about it. So, but yeah, it just comes all down to creating something that's mine.
That's your specific direction.
Yeah.
And
not even that it's like an ownership of mine, but just being able to create essentially is, I guess, the coolest part. Yeah, I mean, it will be mine too, but I mean, you know me, like I'm all about sharing. Anyway, I'm pretty generous in general, right? So it's, but yeah, I mean, it comes down to the creative expression, I would say,
100%.
is the coolest part.
And then, so where do you go from, let's say, that's the reason why you got into breeding, or that's the interesting thing, but where do you explain the process of how to create your own expression? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there will be a lot of trial and error.
Right.
For sure. To be clear, I haven't started it yet, but it's coming. So I think, I mean, I kind of wanted to start with kind of what you alluded to earlier, kind of like a blank slate, something very clean. It's kind of like a gray area in the cannabis world as a whole, I would say, to take a seed from a breeder, or a plant from a breeder rather, plant from a breeder, put them together, and just call it your own, right? You took two things that were bred by someone else and just turned it into your own.
That's a no-no.
Right? Some people are okay with it. Like, some breeders are okay with it. Some breeders don't like it. They're like, I spent, X amount of years creating this strain. Just because you have it and you crossed it with some other random plant doesn't mean it's yours. It's not special like that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me.
But I don't know. I'm of the opinion that once, I've purchased the plant or seed from an individual, it kind of becomes mine.
What do you mean?
So I mean, say you spent whatever X amount of years breeding and you bred this plant, and then I buy a pack of seeds from you. Right? Once I've grown those seeds and grown those plants are kind of unequivocally mine.
Okay.
Now. Right?
But it's his strain, though.
But I don't have a genetic twin to his strain.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, if he gave me a cut, then I would have his plant. I'd have his genetic clone, right? So from there, I'd be like, you know what? This is this guy's plant. I'm crossing it with this. So it kind of becomes a collaborative offspring effort
Right.
kind of thing. But the seeds have such a different genetic makeup that, I mean, if I'm buying a pack of seeds from a breeder, once those plants have grown up, those plants are different from the parents.
Right.
Right? They still have the genetic lineage, right, that this person has created, but each seed, no matter what, is a different genetic expression of the parents.
Okay.
Right? So it's not always going to be an identical offspring. And again, I mean, I've purchased this offspring from you, so I mean, it's kind of technically my plant now, right? I am free to do with it as I please.
Okay.
You know? So it's kind of a weird thing. Some breeders look at it that way, some don't. But, I mean...
I look at it on their side of things. It's just like... Because they probably started from scratch, like a very pure bloodline. And then they put, all this effort into making this
Totally.
thing. So
Totally.
I kind of see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Where it's just like someone buying a 69 Camaro car and then some guy building it from scratch, knows every bolt, knows he's removed the rust, he did the paint job,
Right.
he put in the motor he wanted, and I think that's where a guy who's built from scratch is just like, no man, like I'm the expert, I'm the mechanic, I'm the painter, I'm this. Where this guy's just like, I just did this and I planted it. So I can see where these people are coming from.
Totally. But at the same time, if I buy that car from you that you've built from scratch and I repaint it, rewrap it, put a body kit on it, it's kind of this thing that you've created, but now it's mine.
It is yours. But the creators, I think, will never look at the buyer as the same. Where they can go sit down in a... Let's say you sat down with a whole bunch of weed guys that created, and you're just like, man, this is what I did, this is how my process was. Or this guy is just going to be there, just like, I just bought it.
Yeah.
And I put a new wrap on it.
Right.
And I love it. And I drive sweet and it smokes great. But these guys are like, no, man, like you're missing the biol, you're missing like the ooey gooey goodness in it.
Right. Yeah, which again, it makes sense, but I think that because the industry of cannabis is kind of still in the fledgling phase, where we're just coming out with like the legalization help, it's a lot of it's really important, I think, to be sharing the genetics.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
Right?
100%.
Because, there's some pretty talented, dedicated people out there, right? Once they have, this elite starting material, right, it only helps to expand and grow what's available.
That's true, right?
So, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can look at it.
Very cool.
And, I mean, I wouldn't say there's one right or one wrong way. I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinion and their own way to do it.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Unless a breeder said specifically, like aggressively, like, this is my strain, like, do not breed with it. I feel like it's pretty
open.
It's pretty open season.
Okay.
And that's, again, just my opinion.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, it would get pretty muddled. I mean, I'm sure people could lie about it, like, oh no, like I got that seed from this guy, not that guy, kind of thing. But as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty open season. For
you, what's the so you're getting into breeding? Are you going to be going like the pure slate line, or are you going to go with combining two amazing strains that aren't yours, but you put them together and now you kind of took like a pineapple kush with a rose diesel?
Right.
Are you going to go more like the blank slate or more combination of?
I think down the line it could go either way. Honestly, okay. I mean, there'll be interest.
Yeah.
On a lot of things.
But which one are you gravitating towards? That's what I want to know. Which one are you leaning more towards?
I mean, the blank slate's exciting.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, explain that.
So, a couple of years ago, I was able to purchase seeds from an island called New Caledonia.
And where is this island?
So it's like Oceania, just northwest of like New Caledonia.
Is this by like Australia and New Guinea, Papua New Guinea? Okay,
yeah.
so that's
like Australia, New Zealand, and New Caledonia.
Little island.
Tiny island. Tiny
island. No one's there.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay.
So I purchased seeds from a company called Ace Seeds.
Okay.
And they're landrace specialists.
Gotcha.
So landrace essentially is like cannabis native to the land or the area.
So that means it's a pure?
Typically regarded as pure, right? The genetics are unmuddled.
Not fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
People haven't crossbred them with random strains here and there.
So
right?
it's just this
they're just
one
natural
leaf
from the
been there for
earth.
millions of years.
Yeah, this is like the native species of cannabis here.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And the coolest thing I think is it allows for a lot more genetic expression.
Right.
Right? Because you take seed from breeder A, seed from breeder B, those seeds have probably already been crossed and bred with, you know, say like 10 to 50 times. Right? The very kind of funneled down to what that breeder was looking for.
Yeah.
Right? So they've kicked out trait XYZ on both sides, right? And they've really specifies and brought it. And sometimes it's really good. I mean, you can get some pretty fire bud, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, these buds are huge, they're super frosty, they're super crazy, but they're very specific, probably flavor, aroma, or profiles to what that breeder was chasing.
Right.
Right? So like you would have a hard time taking like a, I don't know, like a Girl Scout cookie mix and like transitioning it and breeding it and pulling out really strange expressions, like something like that was gassy or something that was, you know, fruity, right? Because they've been bred down into that specific kind of terpene profile.
Right.
So the lineage has a little bit less room for, again, like kind of its own creative expression.
Right.
Right. Versus something that is genetically kind of open, right? It's got really deep kind of heritage in that land. You don't really know what's hidden down in the genetic profile. Right. Could have some really crazy like recessive genes that are really wild or maybe like very uncommon.
Gotcha.
Right. So I mean, and then same kind of thing is like if you start with two landrace seeds, right? There's no one on the planet that can say, "Oh, you took that from me."
No.
Right?
No,
or like, you copied
you're
this.
at like ground zero, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a fun way to look at it because you're like really starting from ground zero with this seed because no one's touched it.
Right.
You know, it would be like me traveling there, pulling the seed off the plant, sticking out of the ground in the forest, and bringing it back and being like, okay, it's kind of mine.
So
you know, like this is a fresh start.
Yeah. Is a landrace only specific to New Caledonia, or is it like is there one? Is it all over the world?
Yeah, it's more of a term to describe like the native weed from the specific area. So I mean, there's like there's probably Canadian landrace seeds. There's seeds. I mean, lots of seeds from like India.
Right.
That like
pure
Nepal,
lineage,
Pakistan.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That are just like they've grown from the earth naturally.
Gotcha. And then is there like ones that are like, is New Caledonia like creme de la creme? Like that's just like a great stock slate? Or is there other ones that are like more like, oh my God, I got this lineage?
There's some pretty exciting ones. I don't know if the New Caledonia ones that I have are, I'm honestly not really sure if they meet that upper echelon.
Okay.
Because I haven't really seen them around.
Right.
Even searching like forums and such, so you type in New Caledonia, it's not very common.
Okay.
And that's kind of why I chose it.
Gotcha.
Right? I was like, you know, it doesn't really seem like too many people have played with this.
Okay.
So it seems like a fun place to start.
Cool.
Right? Because it's like, oh yeah, like took landrace seeds from New Caledonia to start my breeding project. People are like, what the hell is New Caledonia?
I don't know.
Right? It's just some random little island. Yeah.
Sounds like
But
a planet.
I mean, that being said, there is some, I mean, people have traveled around the world searching for seeds.
And
right?
what are they searching? Like, why would they be searching? What does this seed have?
So, like a good example is the red Congo.
The red Congo.
Red Congo, yeah.
What's the red Congo?
Seed pulled out of the like deep interior of Republic of Congo.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's special about it?
And so it is a 100% sativa, right? So again, no hybridization, so genetically pure sativa.
Okay.
And this specific strain, the red Congo, is very high in, I believe it was THCA or THCV, but a very like low percentage cannabinoid.
And why is this desirable?
And so it's very medicinal. So people even hoping that it would treat maybe like diabetes.
Really?
Yeah, so very cool.
Very
so I mean,
cool.
you don't really find that, like you would never, you probably, maybe not never, but you wouldn't see that in like, like your Girl Scout cookies from like, that's been bred down like 100 times
No.
into this specific thing, right? This is like, like kind of a special rare kind of compound that's available in this native species.
Very cool.
Which is pretty sweet.
It is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And so I mean, starting with something, again, kind of like pure and blank slatey like the New Caledonia, it's pretty exciting, right?
Man,
I mean, I don't have the equipment to have it lab tested for each individual compound and terpene.
Right.
But, I mean, that kind of makes it fun as well, Because once we get breeding, like, we'll see all these expressions come out.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't really know what to expect in terms of, like, the terpene aroma, like, taste profiles. So, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Maybe it'll be terrible.
Well, I don't know.
It's probably 50-50. Just spent 2 years doing it. It just comes out like ass.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's kind of part of it, right? And so, yeah. So that's probably my number one project on the dock is playing with those seeds from New Caledonia, just because they're very different.
So, and then how do you prep for this? So you're gonna start the breeding process. Is there special things you have to do in consideration? Like, what's your process that you're gonna do? Because obviously you're gonna plant all the seeds and then you're gonna start picking the best ones.
Yeah. And so, there definitely be like quite a few steps to it.
Right.
I mean, I'll have to pick and choose kind of the processes and the way I want to go. Obviously, I know that I want to start with those New Caledonia seeds.
Okay.
And I have kind of 2 different sets of seeds to choose from for that, which is kind of nice. And then it'll be, I could take it so many different ways. So, I mean, I haven't grown these New Caledonian seeds yet. So, I mean, step 1 will be getting those guys into dirt and seeing, honestly, just what the initial plants look like.
Gotcha.
Right?
To see if they're straggly or see if they're strong, fast growing. Stuff like that.
So I mean, if I threw them in and they just popped out and they were like super vigorous and like very healthy, I mean that would obviously help. It'd be a pretty nice start.
Right.
And then probably my first dilemma is going to be choosing initial crosses, like initial goals, I guess.
Right. And can you explain that in like a simple way?
So I kind of thought, and this might change, but I kind of thought that it would be cool to introduce the New Caledonia strains to something Canadian.
Because you're Canadian.
Yeah.
Is it going?
Just to put like a Canadian spin on it.
a little home
right?
root here.
Take something super far away from like the oceanic area and cross it back with something that is, a bit of Canadian blood in it.
It's called homegrown, baby.
Yeah.
It's called homegrown.
So a while ago I was able to trade for a couple seeds called Texada Time Warp.
Okay.
Which is kind of like almost a landrace Canadian strain out from Texada Island on the coast. So it's not quite 100% pure landrace.
Right.
But its lineage is more or less Canadian.
Badass.
Yeah, so pretty cool. And so it would be pretty sweet, I thought right off the bat, to introduce the Texada Time Warp to the New Caledonian strain.
Gotcha.
And put them together. And then see what kind of offspring come out from that.
Okay.
Because now I'm starting, like I have big genetic expression availability from kind of both sides.
Right.
Right? And then those first F1 offspring would kind of be like a good starting place to start introducing other hybrids into it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it'll all depend kind of on how the first New Caledonia strains turn out.
Okay.
Because if I plant 4 of these New Caledonia strains and 2 of them are crap,
right.
2 of them are great, 1 is outstanding of those,
right.
Then obviously like I'll have to kind of chase down the outstanding side's genetics.
And what do you turf the shitty ones?
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah.
More than likely. Because, I mean, again, each seed is different, even though they're all that New Caledonia landrace.
Yeah.
I'll have to kind of whittle down the best of the seeds that I have.
Gotcha.
So it might take a bit of time, because, I mean, I'll have to grow out almost all of them, like the seed stock that I have for that.
Yeah.
Just so I know that I'm starting with the best available.
Right.
Right?
So you're going to pick and choose the top performers.
Yeah, because that's where we get into kind of like muddled breeding. Is if I like say I just started one seed, like one of the Landrace New Caledonia seeds, and I just, no matter what came out of the soil, like I used that, right? It would still be kind of neat because of its lineage of where it's from, but you want to start with the healthiest, best looking plant that you can, right? Because I mean, if I'm putting the onus on myself to be, say like a decent breeder, right? You really have to go through the paces. Yeah. And the time and the process of getting the best parents possible.
100%.
So yeah, it'll be quite a process to start. So I guess step one is chasing down the best plant of the available seeds that I have currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then step two would be to introduce Texada Time Warp.
Yeah. We'll see. Oh my gosh, there's so many different ways to go. Honestly. Yeah. No, it's like going through my head. I'm like, well, if say there was 10 seeds total over like again, dealing with the plant limits, like going through the cycles. But say eventually I make it through 10 seeds of the New Caledonia. Right. Then I have, of those 10, say, if I'm lucky, 8 were mediocre and 2 were great.
Okay.
And those 2 great happen to be 1 male, 1 female. Right? Then in that case, step 1 is crossing those together.
To make a super plant.
Right?
Super seed.
So now I still have this pure New Caledonia landrace, but I have the best offspring of the 2 best parents that I had.
Gotcha.
Right? And then that first offspring here would probably be my best shot at starting my kind of breeding projects with.
Okay.
Yeah. And even that, I mean, to start with 10 seeds is pretty low level.
Yeah.
I would say. Right? But I mean, it is what it is with the plant limits that we have and the seeds that I have available. Right?
But it's kind of cool.
Oh, it's super cool.
Super cool.
But just from like a top tier breeder,
yeah,
like you see those guys pull out one plant out of like, honestly, like over 1,000 plants.
Really?
Yeah. So like it's definitely not out of the question for someone to plant, if they have the space, 500 to 1,500 plants.
Okay.
Right? And then pick the best male and female from those 1,000 plants. Right? Because now you're really cooking.
Holy shit, that's hardcore.
So I'm playing pretty low level by choosing 2 of 10.
Wow.
But I mean, that'll just be kind of on me in my due diligence and making sure that every step along the way I'm being as high quality about the process and like diligent as I can.
Well, it's just a learning thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, it's kind of this
It
fun,
is definitely an experiment, and I'm not like expecting to like throw seeds at everyone, right? So I mean, it's more of a personal project, so it's okay if it's a little, obviously, small scale. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's say we plant all 10 seeds.
Yeah.
Not 1,500, but we got good male, good female. We breed them. Now you got a strong batch of New Caledonian pures. Yeah. And then what do you do next? You add the Texated Time Warp, you make them fuck, and now what do we got? Like what is this? What is that process? Where are we at?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, assuming I'm starting down there with the offspring of like the New Caledonia.
Right.
Yeah. So then I'd have to do the same thing on the Texated Time Warp side.
Okay.
Right.
So let's say we got the best of both.
Yeah.
So we got
the whole process of picking the best one over there, and now we have 1 and 1. Now we're gonna put them together.
Okay, so now they're together. It's a New Caledonia Texas Time Warp plant then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so 50-50 from each side.
So now you got your lineage from New Caledonia.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question here. Is New Caledonia special to you? Because clearly Texas Time Warp is like, it's a special expression to you. You're Canadian.
Yeah.
You want to do your best to do a Canadian weed. Is New Caledonia special?
Yeah, good question actually. It's
because you have all these
I know, because it seems very random.
Right.
Right? It seems very random. And the only thing that I can link it to is, again, the geckos.
The geckos.
The geckos that I had.
Back to the fuck. The first one was called, now the geckos.
Yeah. The geckos that I kept and bred and housed for a couple of years, they were It's called a crested gecko.
Right.
And again, it's kind of random that I dealt with those specifically, but that gecko is native to New Caledonia only.
Oh my god.
I know, so it's super random. So actually, when I was looking through the landrace seeds and kind of like choosing what I wanted to kind of work with, and I saw New Caledonia, I was like, well, that's random. I was like, that's where my geckos are from. And so I was like, yeah, that I have no other reason than that to say that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I read through the profiles and everything, and I was pretty happy with it. And so, but yeah, it just kind of lined up nicely that I was like, I have kind of experience with dealing from inhabitants from this island.
That is pretty cool.
Albeit geckos.
It's like the ultimate expression of like, you know, it's like your experiences you're bringing into a plant, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
So it's kind of funky.
So it's kind of like a really good story to whatever the strain is.
I've dealt with the animals from the island. Now I'm dealing with the plants.
Yeah,
from the
they probably ate the weed.
So yeah, it just kind of came full circle like that, fortunately. And yeah, it's I don't know, it seems pretty cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got the best plants. We breeded them. We got the New Caledonia. We got the Texas State Time Warp. We got the New Caledonia Time Warp.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take the next direction of that process? Because obviously it's land. It's a land. What is it called again?
Landrace.
Landrace. It's probably not going to get you the super high. You're not going to terpenes because you're like you said you like berry fruity stuff.
Yeah.
So now you got to inject those qualities into your pure line breeder.
Yeah.
Right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where honestly like the fun really begins.
Okay.
Right? Because now I'm taking this offspring, this Canadian New Caledonia merged offspring.
Your life experiences in this plant, basically.
Yeah. And so from there, I mean, it'll again be really dependent on the plant that I get from that.
Right.
Right? Because maybe that plant is amazing on its own.
Okay.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not.
Okay.
But we don't know. Right? So, I mean, it'll be an interesting point once I get there because I'm not really sure what to expect in terms of terpenes, aroma, flavor. I know what I'm chasing.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm dealing with this completely new kind of lineage, especially on the New Caledonian side. So it'll be very funky, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe the plant comes out amazing, right? Or maybe I'm chasing something that was on either side. Right, so maybe once I grew up the initial New Caledonia, there was a couple of plants that had like a really interesting aroma, color, size, like something that I'm really happy with, right? So if I wanted to add traits from one of the other sides, I could take the offspring and breed it back into the New Caledonia side.
Okay.
Right,
Oh,
so I could do that. Right, so now I'm adding more genetic expression back from that New Caledonia plant into my offspring.
Very cool.
Right? And again, that'll kind of further solidify any kind of recessive genes that are in there for that new expression, for something different that I'm chasing.
Okay.
Right? But I don't really know what's going to happen because I haven't played with them yet.
You're not in that.
Or if the offspring comes out and I'm really happy with it, and I'm like, this thing slaps already, like, I would assume the biggest thing would be probably like terpene production, trichome production. Like I don't expect it to be, frosty to the nines, right? Just because it's pretty rare to have that naturally.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I'll kind of, I guess, look at which traits I want to enhance.
Which traits do you want to enhance? Like because it's what you like, right?
Yeah.
So what for you,
right?
Jo, Kush, what traits are important, right? Like what do you want your plant to represent, right? You want it to be like a frosty indica, or you want it to be like this, really aroma flavor sativa? Like what's your vision, right?
Yeah.
Do you want the plants to have a certain color when you're growing them because that gives you joy? I don't know. Like,
right.
You tell me.
Yeah. I think the easiest place to start is the terpene flavor expressions.
That's what you're after.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what is? Because I know what's your terpene flavor expressions want to be. I
mean, like I really like very like fruity, sweet strains like that. Okay. But I think for this one, I don't have a specific reason other than it sounds interesting. is that I kind of want to chase like a floral terpene flavor aroma expression.
Explain floral to me. What is that?
So something very like almost like rosy or like hibiscusy, like it has a very, you know, a noticeable flower tone to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I find them pretty rare. Like I don't see them around very often, but every time I come across one, I'm impressed. You know, I had a bud a couple of years ago that was just given to me that was named as Hibiscus Sunrise. It just had like this really deep, earthy undertone, and then this kind of like bright floral, hibiscusy kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Kind of like just felt like you had like a hibiscus flower in your mouth.
Right.
Like it was really interesting. I was
cool.
like, this is pretty wild.
Very cool.
And then I've grown a strain in the past called Rosalicious.
Okay.
Same kind of thing. A little bit sweet, but then just had this like flower petal like aroma to it. I was like, man, this is just so crazy. And it's very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Okay.
Have you ever smoked anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
Like
it was pretty different.
No, I haven't never smoked anything like that.
Yeah, so I think in the notes from the New Caledonia one, there is a little bit of like a floral expression to it.
Okay.
Expected.
That's lucky.
So it's super lucky. It's amazing. Yeah, so it's very cool. Actually, the guys at Ace Seeds, they do a pretty decent breakdown of kind of profiles and what to expect.
Yeah.
But just, you kind of never know.
Gotcha.
Always never know. But yeah, so I think that's kind of the initial thing that I'll try to chase. And again, that's just kind of from my, I guess, more like creative side. I was like, you know, I haven't really seen this around. I'm starting with pretty good material that potentially has the option of going that route.
Gotcha.
So maybe we can sling it along and enhance it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, but yeah, I mean, at the same time, if it comes out and the first hybrid crosses are very like gassy or skunky, then I might have to recalibrate my expectations or my direction that I'm thinking of. Because I mean, I could still incorporate, say I could still cross it back with like the Rosalicious, but you know, like flower petally skunk is not what I'm chasing.
No, it doesn't sound appealing at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't
So
sound nice at all.
it really depends on the expressions that I get from the plants that I put in the dirt.
Man, this is sweet.
Yeah.
So,
but then like say there's an outcome that's not desirable, right? Like the first couple offspring, I'm
right.
like, man,
what are you gonna do?
you smell bad, right? Then I mean, yeah, I mean we'll kind of see what happens, but
right. Scrap that project.
Yeah. So I think from there I would have to go back into the back crossing and back cross it back to the New Caledonia parents,
right?
Just to hopefully try and pull different expressions out of the genetics.
So you're really dealing with motherfucking chaos.
Yeah, chaos. Yeah, very. Random expression.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a ton of trial and error, and I mean that's okay.
Right.
I mean it would be better if I could have 20, 30, 40 plants. So it would really help my selection headaches.
Yeah, it would.
Right? Because even from then, once I find the plant that I'm happy with, like I still need to pick and choose a plant from the seed stock that I have to come in and cross it with after that.
Oh, so you can't be speedy. You can't be fast.
No, not at all.
You're in a slow Canadian controlled.
Yeah.
You're limited.
Limited. Luckily, I have a couple plants currently that I've kind of selected for and kept clones of.
Okay.
So like I have a couple plants in my back pocket where I'm like, I know this plant is solid.
Gotcha.
Right? And so I've always kept a clone of it. Right? So, because otherwise same thing, it goes back to being a guess. Right? You get the breeder pack, you pop in, say 2 seeds, and then you pick one of the 2.
Awesome.
Right? Which is really cool. But again, it's a far cry from picking from 1,000.
That is a far cry.
Right? So it's lucky that I've already, well, not lucky, I mean, it's kind of work that I've done already, I guess.
Yeah.
To have plants that I'm like, okay, I know that this plant is solid. It has traits that I'm happy with, and now I can bring it over.
What plant is that?
So it is blackberry hammer. Yeah. So yeah, it sounds pretty cool, right?
Sounds great.
Yeah, and it's pretty solid. It's a collaboration between a Canadian breeder, Jordan of the Islands,
Okay.
and I believe a guy from the U.S. Oh man, I don't remember his thing off the top of my head. But the Canadian one was the blackberry, and then the other breeder has a plant called 9 Pound Hammer.
Okay.
Which is a very, very, very heavy hitting indica.
Okay.
And so now it's like this super sedative indica with this huge blackberry kicker. Yeah.
Sounds great.
So and she's pretty awesome. Like it's a very nice plant.
So you're gonna take that, and then let's say your New Caledonia Texas Data Time Warp works out.
Yeah.
That's the next process is to introduce the blackberry time hammer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It sounds pretty nice, but I mean that's only I don't know. It's kind of funny because that's only one angle. I mean that's separate from my floral goal already.
Explain the other angles.
Right.
So let's say that's one angle. How many more angles is there? Is there like 3 more angles, or is there like?
Honestly, it's kind of infinite, right?
I know it's infinite, but what your angles? Are?
Right. Well, I'm excited about the blackberry hammer one.
Okay.
Because the blackberry hammer, to my knowledge, is again a hybrid but very indica leaning.
Okay.
Right? And so the New Caledonia specifically is 100% sativa.
Okay.
Right? So now you have a heavy indica with like a pure sativa. So crossing them together is going to create a ton of genetic expression.
Okay.
Right? So like if there's 100 plants, like I mean there'll be some similarities, but they'll probably be all wildly different.
Got you. I just gotta make sure. So let's say first you get your New Caledonia all good, your Texas Data Time Warp. This is step number 3, is to start introducing your
into the offspring of those.
Of the new angles and expressions, right?
Yeah.
So that's step number 3 is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
basically-
it gets kind of convoluted, even like, and I'm sure that's honestly, if everything goes smooth,
If everything goes
I can
well.
get distracted easily.
So easily.
I'd be like, yo, my New Caledonia parent here is just a god plant already, right? So I'm just crossing stuff straight to that.
Oh my god.
Because that could happen too.
Right.
Right? So I mean there could be multiple ways that things get whittled down into the funnel of what spits out at the end.
Right. But we were just gonna say hypothetically this would be you could eliminate this if things turned out really good here.
Yeah.
But to get like your New Caledonia Canadian breed and then you introduce
That's ideally what I want to start with.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And use as like my main breeding plant if all goes well.
and then you add your terpines and your fucking weed high.
Yeah.
If in theory.
In theory.
Okay.
Right. Because traditionally, like those landrace seeds, like again, nobody has specifically bred them down
Right.
at all. Right? So especially sativas, like wild sativas, are usually super tall. Like you're talking like probably 6 to 12 feet tall plants, really long like internodal spacing, so like bud, right? Really like really tall, really spindly, not very frosty, just kind of like
Just
just super crazy. So that's where something like introducing like the blackberry hammer into that will kind of change everything, right? Because traditionally indicas the plant structure is very short and very bushy, right? So step 1 on that side, in that side of the project, I guess, it's cool to introduce an indica because then I can really kind of tame down and whittle down the size of the plants for a more indoor friendly growing environment.
Gotcha.
But then also introduce kind of the genetics that have been whittled down into what we specifically have in the blackberry hammer and add them into the wild gene pool of the New Caledonia strains.
Very cool.
And I guess on the Texada side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, every step is dependent on what plant comes out of the dirt.
Is good, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a long road, I'm not gonna lie. Like, we got some work to do, for sure. Yeah. So, so that's one side of the project. And then again, the Rosalicious is another seed that I have. Obviously, that's a very floral one. So I mean, that'll be a main goal for the floral side of things.
So that's for the terpines, the flavor, and the smell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the blackberry hammer is to get super high, and you like the smell.
Yeah, and to like it'll be nice to be able to shrink down the plants a little bit faster with indica hybridization, because lots of times you get really healthy plants from crosses like that because you're taking this hybridized plant with still has like an okay gene pool, like a pretty good gene pool of genetics to draw from, and then this wild spindly sativa, right? And cross them together. Typically, the offspring have a very aggressive, it's like hybrid vigor. It's like they grow nuts. Like they just grow speedy, fast, typically like very strong, healthy plants.
And then you get
right
that indica.
because you have this wild amount of natural genetic expression that's just like, here we go.
Let's
right?
go.
Yeah. This is like genetics that I've never mixed with before, and now the plants are just wild and hopefully amazing, Hopefully amazing.
Okay, so let's say step number 3, I'm not saying step number 3, but step number 3, you got Wildberry Hammer, you want to do Rosalicious with your Canadian New Caledonia.
Yeah.
And then is there another one that you want to introduce? Like, is that just on the top of your head?
I don't know yet.
Don't know yet. Okay.
I don't know yet. I'm sure that the answer is yes, definitely. I just don't know where it's going to come from yet.
And then what are you going to name it? Do you have some names? You must have some names.
I mean, it depends on what comes out.
That's true.
I can't name it before I see it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? What if it's, I don't know. It could be the difference between naming it Rose Garden and Garbage Truck.
Yeah. That's true. That is very true.
So, I'll have to work on it. I'll have to workshop some names, some naming opportunities, I guess. But until it pops out,
Yeah.
That makes
complete sense.
I don't know.
And then what is the biggest obstacle you're going to be facing is just hopefully getting good plants?
Honestly, plant limit.
Plant limit's your biggest obstacle.
For sure.
And how would you overcome that?
I don't think I can.
Okay, like, is there like a microbreeder license, like craft beer shit?
There is micro cultivation.
Right.
But it's not easy to attain.
Okay. How would you obtain it? Like, is it like you gotta go get a lawyer or something?
Yeah. Just Canada's still pretty. I'm not sure why they make it so difficult, but they've just made it difficult for that kind of process to expand.
Okay.
So I think I don't know off the top of my head. Last time I looked into it was a couple of years ago, but you're looking at like a few $100,000 in like startup costs and like licensing and like getting everything that you need certifiable to be able to open any kind of like operation like that, even on a craft micro scale. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I could go like, what would be my option?
I guess more having friends and putting tents in their houses, I guess.
Yeah, share the love kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just put a tent in all my buddies' houses. That'd be nice, but probably not feasible. Unless I wanted to see, like dish out $1,000 per house to kit up their setups and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, if I had medicinal use, I guess would be the only way. Like if I signed up for, like a medicinal card, then you can. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't sleep. Then I could apply for like a larger home grow license.
So that'd be like 20 plants?
Yeah. So it's like same like my medicinal needs are like far greater than what can be supplied by 4 plants, which is hard to justify because you'd be smoking like an insane amount of weed.
In Canada, you can justify almost anything. You can justify being a cat.
Yeah.
I think you can get away with that one, man. If you can be fucking cats, I think you're gonna be all right.
If I went through those steps, then I could probably enhance my plant count quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. To be honest, I'd just be producing like too much weed at that point, probably. I'd be swimming in it, right? I'd be like, this is my crap that didn't work. This is what I wasn't chasing, but I still have a pound of it. So
Yeah.
God damn, like what am I gonna do with all this?
Come and grab it.
Just start giving it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Set up a lemonade stand on the street.
Just burn it. And just throw in the fireplace and just like, let's go have a little weed party here.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. But plant limit is definitely a big constraint.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's really just time.
Yeah.
I mean, time's not really necessarily a constraint, but it takes time to go through the process of selecting and breeding up, and then selecting and breeding up, and then there's so many layers to it.
There's so many layers.
Right? Because, I mean, like, I want to produce and create the best plant that I can.
Right.
Obviously.
What you have.
Right? But those selection rounds every time, they're their own full runs. Right? And then even from that, even the 10 seeds that go in first, like, I have to select, you have to do the same thing for the males and the females. Right? If this is the best female, now I have to find the best male. Right? You can't necessarily grow them together, so they have to be split apart. Otherwise, they just start throwing pollen, and everything's pollinated, and everything's going, and then you don't know which one's pollinated by which plant. So it's all specific, selective processes.
Can't have that.
You can. It's kind of a necessity, but you just.
Well, then you're losing like the control factory, right?
Oh yeah. You have them all mangled in, right? But I mean, if I had the space. That's probably the way I would do it, to be fair.
What?
Right?
I don't know.
Because if I had a plant limit of 100 plants, I'd take the 10 seeds that I have, chuck them in the dirt, and just mash them all together. Just go wild with it.
Okay.
Right? Because now I have 10,000 seeds.
Right. And now you're planting 1,000.
Chuck 10,000 seeds, and I'm like, that one of 10,000 is the one I'm going to keep.
Right, so you just throw it in like
then
I'd
be rolling.
and then you just grab.
Then I'd be rolling, yeah.
Then you really have.
I have this super plant.
Yeah.
I selected from 10,000 seeds, and here we go. Right, then I'd be feeling pretty good about myself, for sure. But yeah, I mean that'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
We'd have to find a field somewhere.
Yeah, Canada's big. Probably no one would ever even look at it. It's so big.
But yeah, all in all, it'll still be pretty good.
It's gonna be pretty dope.
It's just gonna take time.
Right. And how much time do you think it's gonna be? A year, 2 years to get where you want to be?
I mean, like I kind of said in one of the previous ones, like I'm not looking to like sell sling seeds.
No.
Really, right? So it's just kind of just the process. Like I would say each round is probably, if I'm lucky, like 3 to 4 months of selection.
Right.
Right? So I do the first selection on the New Caledonia side, first selection on the Texas Time Warp side, first selection on the Offspring side, right? So that's already over a year. If you're going that's a year, I guess, if you're going 4-4-4, right? So that's a year just to get to the first plant to play with.
And then...
Assuming things go well.
Right, assuming.
Right? And then from there, I mean, you probably want to play with and kind of back cross that original plant.
So it's another 4 months.
Yeah. So either that plant goes back up to the New Caledonia parent or the Texada parent, or it goes into a different one of the offspring.
Right.
Right, to kind of solidify. Like if I don't know, just to be correct, we'll say there's 4 plants, there's 4 offspring that I've kept.
Yeah.
This one looks amazing. This one looks amazing. And then you cross those 2 down. Right, to make kind of like the next generation from the same lineage.
Right.
Right. So that kind of solidifies the genetics that you're looking for.
Now you're happy.
I mean, you could do that a couple times.
And then you really got it solidified.
Yeah. And then so now I'm really happy with that offspring that I want.
Gotcha.
Right? But that could be 3, 4, 5, 6 generations down. Each one of those generations is their own cross and hunt.
Right. And 4 months.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
so you're looking at like a 2-year ordeal.
For sure. Before like the first plant that I want to like name as like my own comes out.
Right.
Probably.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So time. But the process is fun.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
You gotta get a board or something so we can see what's going on.
Yeah. Full genetic tree.
And then get your name.
Well, even that stuff sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Right. It sounds awesome.
And then you can like track it, right?
Yeah.
Have plant names. This is Paul. This is Susan.
Yeah.
They fucked and they made
Albert.
Barry.
Yeah. Especially if the first offspring are really interesting, right? Because then it amplifies the excitement.
Right.
Right. It's like, holy crap! Like this is really cool.
It's super cool.
Right. But it's gonna be a lot of work for sure. But exciting, right? You're creating something new, creating something. Hopefully,
you're being God.
Different.
You're acting like God. You're acting like God.
Canada's God.
Yeah.
And then I mean, from there, I mean, that's just one stream of breeding.
Yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Right?
Well, we'll have to get into the other types of breeding in another one.
Yeah, because I mean, well, yeah, I mean, I have like small collection of other landrace seeds. Right? So I mean, yeah, what if I want to do something with that, or do something with that, or take my, far off offspring and breed it back into a completely different landrace, right? Which would open up, again, a brand new channel of like weird and wild stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so we can get pretty creative and pretty carried away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the first plants that come out, I'm happy with.
Right.
Because that would really narrow down my searching, right? Be like, this has a lot of expressions and traits that I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
It's a great place to start.
Awesome.
Versus it comes out and I'm like, this smells like feet, like sweaty gym bag, and I don't know if I want to use this, but I already spent, 8 months making it. So but you never know. Maybe I'm, making some kind of like, I don't know. You can get wild just because there's so much like unlimited terpene combination potential.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe I do make dumpster truck rosé.
Hook me up.
Right? You smell like this nice little like floral overtones, and then you smoke it and it just tastes like garbage.
That'd be such a trip.
Right? There's someone out there that's looking for it.
Oh yeah, there's
always
a fucking weirdo who wants to smoke garbage.
Yeah. But yeah, you never know. So, but that's the fun of it.
That's so cool.
So,
yeah, we're gonna have to.
It's gonna be a long, tedious process.
We'll have to get you back on when you get to here.
Yeah.
When we get you, hey man, I made rosé garbage.
Yeah. Step one, look what I got. Yeah, banger.
I mean,
it just reeks of trash.
You're smoking and you just find yourself in the trash.
You're like, oh my god, like I gotta take out the trash. You're like, bunch of garbage nostalgia. Like, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, but hopefully not. I'm not chasing garbage. To clarify.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. It should be cool. Be cool. But process.
Well, this is great, and again, it's always a pleasure to have our man J.O. Kush here.
Anytime. Hopefully we got a fun update next time around.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll have to get you back on to the other sides of breeding.
Yeah. Who knows where it's going to go?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
Awesome.
Groovy.
All right. Well, thanks again. And
Appreciate
this
it.
was great.
Anytime.
Sweet.
Groovy.